Marcus Aurelius gives thanks to his Stoic tutor Rusticus for many things, but most importantly of all, he's grateful that Rusticus introduced him to the works of Epictetus and lent him his own copy of the Discourses. Epictetus, who was born a slave, taught the future Roman emperor a lot about philosophy. There are multiple points in his Meditations where Marcus quotes passages from Epictetus, showing just how much he revered the Stoic philosopher. Marcus had no idea that his own work, written purely as a personal reminder on how to be a good man, would surpass Epictetus' impact on Stoic philosophy. I also find it fascinating that Marcus got his information about Stoicism from one of the same sources that we used to learn about it, and found it immensely eye-opening as well. But this begs the question of why Marcus doesn't mention the other most well-known Stoic, Seneca the Younger. After all, they seem to have more in common, with Seneca having been emperor in all but name. Marcus mentions Emperor Nero as a tyrant in his Meditations. Surely he must have known of Seneca, his Stoic advisor. So why didn't he read his works? Or why didn't he see Seneca with the same eye of reverence that we do today? Here are 3 possible reasons. In Seneca's letters, he mentions Zeno, Chrysippus, Cleanthes, Posidonius, all these great philosophers who founded Stoicism and formalized it into a proper school. The works of these men are lost to us today, unfortunately, but they succinctly explain Stoic philosophy. In the time of Marcus Aurelius, these weren't lost, and Marcus would have had access to them. The work of Seneca would have just been rehashing what the founders of Stoicism had already said, and as we know, it's always best to go to the original source. The reason that Seneca is known as one of the 3 most famous Stoics today is not because he created the best work, but because his work is the work that survived through the ages. The other Stoics may have been better philosophers and people. They may not have had an asterisk over their philosophy because of their unscrupulous dealings with the emperor, but their works were lost, so we have to use what we have. Seneca's work may be great to us 2,000 years later, but perhaps it's the gas station sandwich of philosophy when compared to the other works that were available at the time. This would put Seneca's position in Stoicism in the same lineage as Trippie Redd in the SoundCloud rap era. He's one of the best and most well-known from his generation, but it's not because of his skill set. He's just the last one standing. His work may be good, and Missing My Idols is still in my rotation 5 years later, but we'd swap out Seneca or Trippie Redd for new Posidonius or XXXTentacion in a heartbeat.
Heartbeat, my heartbeat.
Seneca's philosophy was also written in Latin, which was the language of Rome. Now, it would make sense that it's in Latin, but at this time, real, serious philosophy was written in Greek. Marcus Aurelius, for example, wrote his entire Meditations in Greek and not in his native tongue. Philosophy, written in Latin, was the Marvel Cinematic Universe of its time. Yes, it's still technically film, but real films aren't these big budget blockbuster things. I disagree with this assessment on film, and don't particularly like Oscar-winning movies in general, but the point still stands that in those days, real philosophy was written in Greek. This makes Seneca not only the Trippie Redd of Stoicism, but also the Mark Manson of philosophy. He was writing philosophical works for people who weren't into philosophy. He was capturing a different market. True students of philosophy would have been aware of his work, but wouldn't have put too much stock in it, as it was meant for more mass market consumption, and the lessons aren't that deep comparatively to what was available at the time. And the final reason that Marcus Aurelius didn't learn any philosophy from Seneca is just that he was more widely known as a politician and a writer in those days. Epictetus, during his lifetime and afterwards, was well known to be a philosopher, but during his life, those who brought up Seneca's philosophy only did so to point out his hypocrisy. If anyone had asked, "Epictetus, what is your profession?" everyone would have said, "Philosopher." If you had asked the same question of Seneca, the answer would have been more like, Epictetus was known widely as a philosopher, whereas with Seneca, it was only well after his death that we saw him first as a philosopher and second as a statesman. And so that is why Marcus Aurelius reveres Epictetus and doesn't mention Seneca the Younger once. Marcus would have had the Felix Dennis and XXXTentacions of his time to work with, and wouldn't have considered the Trippie Redd and Mark Manson of his time a part of his collection. I hope you liked that video. Here at Project Stoic, we are focused on creating videos around Stoicism, philosophy, spirituality, all wrapped under the umbrella of storytelling with contemporary lessons. Now, although this channel is new, we do have over 165,000 followers over on TikTok talking about the same stuff. So you know what that means. That means I'm a TikToker. I'm a TikToker. But this YouTube channel is new, so if you'd like to support, help grow it, consider subscribing, liking the video, and of course, watch more. Anything to boost us up in the algorithm. Happy you're here. I hope you learn a lot, and we'll talk to you soon.